Hey guys, what's up? Joe. Yeah, you know the drill. God damn it, I like coffee. So something that you kind of come across with when you're editing is basically, say during an interview when people are doing some type of a step-by-step video, or maybe like just whatever the type of video it may be. I'm sure there's gonna be a situation where like the person is speaking, either they make a mistake or they rephrase what they said. Maybe they're trying to explain something, but they didn't like the way how it came out or how it was explained, so they reword it. They start off one way of explaining something, they stop, they reword it, finishing what they were trying to explain, but they reworded it in a manner that's different than how they began, right? So the situation with that is basically now you have like two different sentences that the information is the same of what they're trying to explain, but like the way how it started and the way how it ended is completely different, right? So basically now what you got to do is you got to like find a way to like know where to make the cuts, that way you can like connect those two, and they seem like it's just like one whole sentence without like feeling like there was like a mistake in between, right? So I'm sure you guys will understand what I'm talking about once you watch the video, right? So I'll get back to you at the end of the video.
Where I was able to get away with two. I couldn't do that with this build. If you're giving a lot of thought to RGB
LEDs in a system, then you might want to consider making very sure that you only need to install one type of RGB LED software. I was able to get away with two.
I couldn't do that with this build, but I was able to get away with installing just two. One is the NZXT.
All right, so he kind of like rewords what he says, right? So in this case, he says.
I was able to get away with two. I was able to get away with two RGB.
He says the same thing, but he rewords it in a manner that he's able to explain, but in a more simpler manner, without him like getting all tangled up in his words.
I couldn't do that with this build, but I was able to get away with installing just two. One is the NZXT Cam software, which is controlling this unit here on the software. I was able to get away with one type of RGB LED software. I was able to get away with two.
Around here.
Software. I was able to get away with two.
And this is where I need to make a cut.
I couldn't do that with this build, but I was able to get away with installing just two. One is the NZXT Cam software, which is controlling this unit here on.
So yeah, this is kind of tricky. So actually, it's a good thing I came across the situation, because he totally changes what he says in the last half of the sentence, right? So now I got to find a spot to make the cut and then add like this corrected sentence right towards the end of the first half of the sentence, right? So it's like I'm taking one half, he changes like the last half, so I need to put them together to make it sound like a one consistent sentence without it sounding off, right? So in this case, this is like the last half of the sentence, right? So he says,
I couldn't do that with this build, but
I couldn't do that with this build. So let's go back to this area over here.
Sure that you only need to install one type of RGB LED software. I was able.
So most likely when he's talking about like a software.
If you're giving a lot of thought to RGB LEDs in a system,
Then you might want to consider making
very sure that you only need to install one type of RGB LED software.
So after he says software, that's where I may need to do my cut.
RGB LED software.
So there's like a little pause right here. This is where you need to like be able to see the visual cues, right? He says software, then like there's a pause before he like, there's like a slight pause right here before he starts speaking again. I gotta make a cut here.
RGB LED software. I was able to get.
So all this section right here, where he like he messes up, delete that. I'm gonna select the end frames here. I'm gonna add a default transition just to make it sound smooth, right? So there's not like an abrupt, cut there.
One type of RGB LED software. I couldn't do.
All right, so probably like trim this down a bit more.
LED software. I couldn't do that.
There you go. So
Make sure that you only need to install one type of RGB LED software. I couldn't do that with this build, but I was able to get away with installing just two. One is the NZXT Cam software, which is controlling this unit here on the, which is controlling this unit here. This unit here on the software, which is.
So over here again, he changes. He corrects himself on the last bit of that sentence that he was saying. So and he starts again over here.
Which is controlling this unit here.
Which is controlling this unit here. So I'm gonna go back over here.
The NZXT Cam software, which is controlling.
You can see over here is which is controlling.
Which is controlling this software, which is.
So it's over here. Make a cut.
Software, which is controlling.
Oh, there we go.
Software, which is controlling.
Slide this over a bit. You want the which is. Then it cuts to controlling.
Software, which is controlling this. Software, which is controlling.
Now I'm having a bit of a trouble here, so I need to have more space here. I'm gonna do a forward select here. I gotta move all this guy down, and I'm gonna go back to stretching out these ends because I'm not finding like the right area to make a cut.
DXT cam software, which is controlling this unit here on the software, which is cam software, which is controlling this unit.
There we go.
Cam software, which is controlling this unit. Cam software, which is controlling this unit.
So the transition words, the sounds with the T controlling the troll part. I'd like to find that like one specific transition in the sentence that can sound right.
Just two. One is the NZXT cam software, which is controlling this unit.
Which is controlling this unit here, right? So just shows you that using seeing like the audio cues and then listening like where to make the cut. That way, like when you're speaking, there's not an abrupt like audio fuck up that will throw off like the viewer off, right? Because the funny thing is that like if there's like a cut or a jump cut visually, it's not that big of a deal. But if there's like a jump cut in the audio, it sounds fucking weird and it throws people off, right? And it can get annoying. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're gonna add like a jump cut visually, that's okay. But make sure that your audio, your cuts are very transition, like it's very smooth when a person is speaking, right? And that's something I aim for when I'm editing Paul's video, is that I aim more for the audio fluidity versus visual fluidity. I'd rather have a bunch of jump cuts, but make sure like the audio when Paul is speaking sounds very fluid, right? So now if we play this back.
If you're giving a lot of thought to RGB LEDs in a system, then you might want to consider making very sure that you only need to install one type of RGB LED software. I couldn't do that with this build, but I was able to get away with installing just two. One is the NZXT cam software, which is controlling this unit here on the NZXT Kraken cam software, which is controlling this unit here on the NZXT Kraken AIO, which is...
So there you go, I'm probably gonna do some more work on that section, obviously, but I'm trying to show you pretty much what goes into making these videos, right? Because obviously everything is being recorded on the spot. There's no real script in these situations, right? So there's gonna be like a lot of situations where Paul, he will say something and then like he'll reword it again. I'll keep like the first half of a sentence, but then I'll add in like the last half of a sentence, and then I'll put it together to make one new sentence, but it's gotta sound right. So anyways, that's pretty much the point of this video, is that like when you're editing, definitely learn to like use the audio visual information and like understanding how they work, especially when someone is speaking. That way you can match them and like you can like pretty much make more smoother cuts when someone is speaking, right? So yeah, as you probably saw in the video, there's gonna be situations where like putting some sentences together can be more of a challenge, right? Because like you have to learn to like not necessarily hear what is being said. It's more about how it's being said, right? So certain sounds like that I use to like help edit sentences together. I guess I call them transition words. Certain words like and, or, the, but. Usually those words are like the ones that I use the most to make the cuts at, so I can put together like sentences, right? Certain words say like something, there's like words that kind of like, they kind of like blend together, right? But there's certain words like but, there's like a definite sound that you can hear, right? And you also can see it in the audio waves. There's more of a defined like sound. Not only that, there's usually a bit of a pause when like people are using those words. However, and another thing, see what I'm saying? Like those words, those phrases, there's like a increase in volume, and there's also a bit like of a pause when people speak in that manner using those words, right? So there's a lot of like those words you kind of learn how to like use when you're editing. That way, when you make your cuts and you're putting together like sentences, like I just showed you, those words can help you out to like get two sentences that start at one way and then get another sentence that end in another way, then put them together, right? That way it feels all fluid when you put it all together, right? Anyways, yeah, hopefully the video helped you out. If it did, there's a link in the description with my PayPal link, so you guys can hook it up with a coffee. I always appreciate that help. I definitely want to take this moment and say that I have had people show their appreciation in that manner. They send me a PayPal, to hook it up with a coffee, and honestly, I want to say thank you. It does mean a lot to me. I'm gonna continue making these videos regardless, but the fact that some people do show that extra appreciation through helping buying me a coffee, I really appreciate it. I want to say thank you, right? It really means a lot to me, right? But like as I said, I'm going to continue making these videos because I do enjoy sharing what I know. Caffeine does help me make these videos a lot easier. Especially early in the morning when I do make these videos, right? So thanks again. Appreciate you guys' support. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate the comments. It brightens up my day. When I get a thank you in that manner, right? So thanks again. Take care and peace.